Imagine walking down a street where every window is boarded up, grass grows through cracks in the pavement, and the only sound you hear is the wind blowing through empty alleyways. No laughter, no life, just the eerie silence of what once was a thriving neighborhood. These aren't scenes from a post-apocalyptic movie. They're real places, right here in the United States. Places that have been all but erased from the American dream. In today's video, we're diving into the haunting reality of 10 U.S. neighborhoods that look like they've been completely left to die. These are not just crumbling buildings or abandoned lots. They are stories of economic collapse, job loss, environmental disaster, and broken promises. Once vibrant communities have now become symbols of neglect, where hope packed up and left a long time ago. Some of these neighborhoods were victims of the manufacturing exodus in the Rust Belt. Others fell apart due to failed housing policies, natural disasters, or violent crime waves that pushed families away. And perhaps the most disturbing part, many of them still have people living in them, fighting to survive among the ruins. This isn't just a list of empty places, it's a wake-up call. Because behind every abandoned home and shattered streetlight is a story worth telling. So stay with me till the end. You might be shocked by what we uncover. Especially when we reveal the final neighborhood that's not only dying, but being deliberately forgotten. We're 1, Gary, Indiana, the ghost of industrial glory. Once the crown jewel of American steel production, Gary was home to tens of thousands of factory workers, bustling downtown blocks, and a strong middle class. Founded by U.S. Steel in 1906, this city once symbolized the American dream for working-class families. But when the steel industry declined in the 1970s and 80s, so did Gary's lifeline. The factories shut down, businesses closed their doors, and residents began moving out in droves. The economic crash hit hard and left visible scars that never quite healed. Today, Gary feels eerily silent. Once lively neighborhoods are now ghost towns. Schools have been left to decay, grand buildings stand broken and windowless, and even police departments operate out of half-empty structures. For the few residents who stayed, it's a city stuck between memories of greatness and a future that never arrived. There's a haunting sadness in the air, as if time itself gave up on Gary. 2. Camden, New Jersey, a city on life support. Camden, just across the Delaware River from Philadelphia, has long battled poverty, violence, and corruption. Once a thriving hub for shipbuilding and manufacturing, the city's economy collapsed in the second half of the 20th century. Factories closed, jobs vanished, and systemic mismanagement only deepened the wounds. As unemployment soared, crime followed, turning Camden into one of the most dangerous cities in America for many years. Walk through certain parts of Camden today, and you'll find crumbling row homes, empty lots overrun with weeds, and streets that echo with silence. Despite recent efforts at redevelopment and large investments from private firms, many neighborhoods remain trapped in limbo. Some residents feel forgotten, living in areas that seem frozen in decay. It's a story of potential smothered by decades of neglect and broken promises. 3. Detroit, Michigan, Delray and Brightmoor. Detroit is a city with two faces, one of downtown resurgence and another of neighborhoods like Delray and Brightmoor, where the collapse is heartbreakingly visible. Decades ago, these areas were filled with auto workers, families, and vibrant communities. What was once a thriving community of 15,000 has now shrunk to less than 2,000, and what remains is eerily quiet. The downtown is full of boarded-up stores, empty streets, and buildings frozen in time. The most heartbreaking part? Cairo feels like it was simply erased from national memory. Federal aid has done little to revive the area, and the younger generation continues to leave for better opportunities. It's a ghost town in the making, not because of natural disaster, but because of decades of slow-motion decline. You don't just see the abandonment, you feel it in the stillness, the silence, and the resignation in the eyes of the people who stayed behind. Before we continue, take a moment and look at the pattern we're uncovering. These places weren't always broken. They were once thriving neighborhoods, full of life, hope, and purpose. If this has moved you or made you think differently about the reality behind these headlines, hit that like button to support deeper storytelling like this. Subscribe if you want to explore more hidden truths and untold stories that mainstream media often ignores. And drop a comment. Which of these cities shocked you the most so far? 6. Flint, Michigan. Poisoned and forgotten. Flint's story is no secret, but the emotional weight still lingers. Once a booming auto manufacturing hub, Flint was home to tens of thousands of middle-class families. But as factories closed and jobs vanished, the economy collapsed. The final blow came in 2014, when cost-cutting decisions led to a contaminated water crisis that exposed thousands to lead. The world watched, but the healing has been painfully slow, both in infrastructure and in trust. Today, Flint still grapples with poverty, underfunded schools, and systemic neglect. Many homes remain boarded up, and large swaths of neighborhoods look abandoned, almost like an apocalyptic film set. For locals, it's not just about broken pipes or toxic water, it's about the feeling that the country turned its back on them. The city is alive, but barely, holding on to hope while struggling to recover from a man-made disaster that could have been prevented. 7. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, a city shrinking into silence. Once a promising southern town, Pine Bluff was filled with life in the 20th century, bolstered by agriculture, railroads, and industry. But as economic shifts took hold and young people moved to larger cities, Pine Bluff began to wither. The decline is visible. Homes left to collapse, businesses long gone, and entire blocks that feel more like relics than neighborhoods. The city's population has plummeted, leaving behind a ghost shell of what once was. Efforts to revitalize Pine Bluff have faced uphill battles. Crime remains a challenge, schools are under strain, and job opportunities are slim. While community leaders fight to keep hope alive, the overwhelming decay sends a different message. You walk through Pine Bluff and sense a loss not just of economy, but of identity. It's a chilling reminder of how quietly a place can fade when there's no plan for the future. 8. Stockton, California, the forgotten bankruptcy. Stockton may not look abandoned at first glance, but dig beneath the surface and you'll see the cracks. Once thriving from agriculture and real estate, Stockton filed for bankruptcy in 2012, one of the largest U.S. cities to ever do so. Foreclosed homes, rising crime rates, and deep cuts to public services followed, leading parts of the city to crumble both physically and economically. Even though Stockton is trying to bounce back, neighborhoods on the edge still feel left behind. Unkempt parks, overgrown lots, and homes ravaged by years of neglect are not hard to find. And for many residents, the stigma of being the broke city still haunts them. It's a modern example of how financial collapse doesn't just affect numbers on paper. It breaks neighborhoods, weakens hope, and takes years, if not decades, to undo. 9. Baltimore, Maryland, West Baltimore. West Baltimore is a place where the past and present collide in sobering ways. Once a neighborhood filled with jazz clubs, theaters, and black-owned businesses, it's now often associated with vacant row houses, systemic poverty, and high crime rates. The decline didn't happen overnight. It was the result of decades of redlining, racial segregation, failed policies, and disinvestment. And while shows like The Wire brought attention to its struggles, real change has been slow. Residents of West Baltimore often feel forgotten by the very institutions meant to protect them. Blocks of boarded-up homes sit side by side with occupied ones, creating a surreal and heartbreaking contrast. Schools struggle with underfunding, and access to healthcare and employment is limited. It's a community rich in resilience, but choked by the weight of generational neglect. You don't just see decay here, you see the consequences of an unequal system. 10. New Orleans, Louisiana, Lower Ninth Ward. The Lower Ninth Ward of New Orleans tells a tale of tragedy and betrayal. When Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, it devastated this historic neighborhood. But while other parts of the city were rebuilt, the Lower Ninth was largely left behind. Despite national attention and billions in aid, many streets remain empty, and homes still lie in ruin. It's as if recovery came selectively, and this part of the city was excluded from the future. The trauma of Katrina lingers. Residents who returned found themselves battling red tape, insurance loopholes, and broken promises. Community organizations do what they can, but large-scale investment is scarce. To walk through the Lower Ninth is to feel the weight of loss, not just of property or lives, but of a community's place in its own city. It's a sobering close to our list, showing how neglect can follow even after disaster relief headlines fade. As you've seen, these 10 neighborhoods aren't just abandoned places. They're echoes of America's forgotten promises. Each one tells a deeper story of economic collapse, systemic failure, and the people left behind. They're not just broken buildings, they're broken dreams. And we owe it to their residents to remember, to ask hard questions, and to care. With that said, thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for more eye-opening stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which of these neighborhoods moved you the most? And until next time, stay curious and stay informed.